Hello, greetings. Let's talk about the operational situation in the occupied city. What's the situation now? In the last 2 weeks, the situation became much more intense. It's become more intense because, well, the Rushists can't live calmly due to Ukrainian resistance forces. One train was derailed, and one military unit of the Rushists has been destroyed. So they clearly see that, well, a peaceful life in Melitopol is not for the Rushists. And yesterday, another military unit was destroyed, which is 5 kilometers from the city of Melitopol, and it's next to Myrne village. On the other hand, we have this joyful news, but also there is tension because of the pressure caused by the Rushists. Yesterday, this self-proclaimed ruler of the health department in Melitopol, he had a meeting and he told all the collaborators whom they've appointed as heads of health facilities, and he said to prepare stocks of food and water and to put tape on windows. For me, it shows that the Rushists are preparing to combat activities in the city of Melitopol and perhaps in other occupied cities. Also, what's not clear is the situation with the entry and exit of people from the occupied territory. Usually, we've had about 300, 400 vehicles per day coming in and out of Zaporizhia from the occupied territories. But yesterday morning, the Rushists said that they will not let vehicles in and out. And in Vasilievka roadblock, they relented and they have let about 20 vehicles come, but not more than that. So we understand that they don't want to let people in and out because they want to have civilians as human shield during the combat activities which will happen in the temporarily occupied territories. And they're trying to bring as many of them as possible to the Vasilievka checkpoint to use them as a cover for the troops movement along the front line. So the situation is getting more complicated, but, well, people are waiting for the liberation. So this armored train which was derailed and the destruction of the two units, well, of course it inspires and gives hope that the city is liberated soon. Yeah, those people who managed to get out of that hell, what do they tell? What do Ukrainians tell about the situation with healthcare there, with food? And what is the situation in the city? Almost daily we talk to people who move out of Melitopol and other occupied territories, and they come to Zaporizhia. They go to the GCA, and of course it's a breath of fresh air for them, because, well, it's quite depressive on temporarily occupied territories. In terms of medications, through our volunteers, we manage to deliver all the primary medications which are needed there. But also today there is a clear need of blood, and we cannot deliver blood products from Zaporizhia because the cold chain is quite complicated, and we cannot follow the cold chain because the Rushists are opening all the fridges and all the roadblocks, and blood products would be unfit for use. So there is indeed a clear need of that, and I can also say that they have ran out of blood of certain types and certain rhesus factors. In terms of food, if it's grown there, like fruits and vegetables? Well, they are quite cheap in the occupied territories. Well, the reason is simple. They just grow more than the market demand right there. Then the purchase capacity of the people who stay in the occupied territories. But whatever is imported from Crimea costs several times higher than anywhere else in the government-controlled territories. 80% of the people there, they don't have a job. So people who don't have a job, they just can't buy food, which is 4 times more expensive. What about communications? Can residents of Melitopol get in touch with their relatives in other regions of Ukraine? Only through Russian SIM cards. Yesterday, they've announced another Russian operator working there. So there is some communication, but only through these non-controlled operators. And the quality is quite bad. And of course, it's being closely monitored by the the special services of the Russian Federation. So of course, we give instructions, we explain that the people have to use the VPN, they have to use protected messengers. So there is some communication, but it's difficult. And, well, elderly people, they can't use it because it requires some tech knowledge. So only young people and those who are tech savvy, they can use communication. But people who mostly stay there are elderly people. So people who stay in the city, how many of them are there? According to our estimates, there are about 60 to 70,000 population, which is 45 to 50% of the residents in the city. Any questions? Hello, Maria Gonchara from Ukrinform. My first question is, recently, the representatives of the occupation government said that they will bring in a gas pipeline from Crimea. Is it possible? Well, it's being discussed now. We are trying to find out whether it's feasible, whether it's working, because the Russians are announcing in their propaganda that, well, the pipeline is there. We cannot confirm it so far. We'll be able to respond to this question tomorrow. But I can clearly state the following. In the first days of the occupation, the law enforcement of the Russians, the representatives of the military power, they came to my office telling me to switch the connection to Crimea. But back then, the employees said that it's not possible, that, well, the pipeline network cannot be switched to Crimea. Whether they manage to do this, we'll learn in a day or two. But so far, we don't have the information that is technically feasible. Another question. The parents of the school children are required to submit documents to school so that they would know how many children will be there in school. Do you know if the parents comply, and what do they do if they can't move out of the city? We had 2,800 teachers in the educational facilities. So only 270 agreed to collaborate. We don't have clear figures because some people said, yeah, okay, I will collaborate, but immediately after the first salary, they said, okay, I don't want to collaborate, and they want to switch back to Ukrainian education system to get Ukrainian salaries. But however, these 270 people are usually not even teachers. They are just school staff, support staff. As to whether parents should send kids to school or not, my recommendation is simple. They shouldn't take kids to Russia's school. First of all, it's dangerous. We've seen how Russia committed these terrorist acts in Ukraine, and, well, women, children, elderly are not worth anything. The Russians are ready to kill civilians for their bloody purposes. And this is the same reason they have when they want to restart education process in our kindergartens and schools, because we would not be able to respond to be responsible to the security situation in these schools. So we hope people will be able to study online from September the 1st, and this would be the only way to get education in Ukrainian curricula. And of course, parents shouldn't take their children to the Russian school because, well, the staff there is not trained and there's no security. It's just dangerous. If we talk about those who want to get higher education, who wanted to get into universities, do you know anything about the admissions campaign this year? Yeah, the admissions campaign is going on, and what's significant is that according to our initiative and the support of the MPs and the Ministry of Education, the admissions campaign for children from occupied territories is much simpler than for the others. And it's very important because children in the occupied areas are in much more difficult situations. So now all of the higher education facilities from Melitopol has been moved to Zaporizhia, and they will follow the Ukrainian education curriculum, and as soon as the admissions campaign is over, we'll have specific figures. We can say for sure that over 40% of school children from Melitopol have moved out of the city, and they will not continue education in Melitopol. But over 70% of the school children want to continue studies in Ukrainian schools online. So the figures are quite relevant. Ivan, my last question is, if you understand where these people who move out from Melitopol, where do they go to? Which region hosts the most of the residents? Well, the most come to the city of Zaporizhia, because we all want to be as close to home as possible. It just gives you something spiritual and gives you this spiritual stability. You know that you will come back home soon. So most residents of people from Melitopol, so most residents are in Zaporizhia region. That was Ivan Fedorov, the mayor of Melitopol. Thanks for finding time and joining us, and I would like to remind you, dear colleagues, that our next briefing is at 1:30, and we will talk about the European embargo